Hello, my name is Halium Sadman McDuBle. I am a game designer and all-around thinky person. I am also most definitely a normal man. I'm vaguely right-wing, and my concept of humor is saying the bad words in a public Discord chat. Just like you, I can't stand people who care about so-called social justice. Yes, what is important is that you know that these opinions are definitely coming from your everyday relatable DF2 player and not from any kind of robo-social justice warrior from the future. Oh no, my disguise.
You'll die up there.
Ah yes, the best of Fiverr voice acting. Dead Frontier 2. I always come back to this game. Because it's unique, it gives you something you can't really get elsewhere. It has a lot of potential, it makes you want so badly for it to be good, and there is some good here, but every time I come back, that same core of rot is still there poisoning the game. For those of you who have not played the game, Dead Frontier 2 is a free-to-play MMO taking place in a post-apocalyptic, zombie-infested city. Hey, cut it out. I'm trying to talk to my YouTube audience. It's kind of like Diablo, but definitely not as good. This is partially because there's one main guy working on the game. Maybe it takes an indie studio to make a game this unique. On the other hand, updates are slow and empty, and the game world feels slightly artificial from the lack of polish and diversity.
Valium. I know you can hear me.
I have put over 1,000 hours into this game. It's quirky, I like it. I have a Prestige 5 character and multiple level 30s and have tried out almost every character build. I have earned some space to critique it without being seen as acting in bad faith. Understood? Cool. The rot. There are 3 distinct ways to play the game. The first is looting buildings. I have to speak about an initial rot here. There are stat upgrades and abilities that allow you to heavily specialize in each of the ways you can play the game. A looter character, for example, will likely build their entire stats around looting buildings cheaply, quickly and efficiently, and will not have a good time doing other things. So problem number 1, game which already has such few things to do, has you specializing to focus on one of those things, or else feeling crappy due to obvious inefficiency. Or, you're incentivized to make an entire other character dedicated to a different task. Is it really so wrong for me to want to be able to build a character who can do any sort of game activity I'm in the mood for? Why do I need 3 characters dedicated to being superhuman at specific tasks? Anyways, back to the main point, 3 main activities you can do. I was talking about looting. A character that loots is typically barreling through an endless series of randomized clone rooms, holding the E key on 1 or 2 yellow spots to generate a random item, and dispatching crowds of easy zombies, while trying to roll a big loot, and avoiding burning money. You see these characters typically using melee, chainsaws, or pistols, to save money. You get to choose between 2 focuses. You can build your looter in such a way that you loot great stuff, but have an underpowered less interesting character, or you can loot less good stuff, and have a character which is better. Game Rot 1. Looting is plagued by needing to sacrifice the actually interesting parts of character building to gain a 0.5% higher chance at looting something. Plus chance to loot X thing is bad. It feels bad when you build for it. It feels bad when you don't build for it. It should go. I no longer want to feel that I am throwing away the chance for a big score by building my character in a fun relevant way. The next way you can play is bossing. A character that bosses is typically barreling through small buildings to reach the back room, where they will defeat a boss to roll for a good piece of gear. These characters are usually a money sink, using weapons with expensive ammo, like shotguns, rifles and small machine guns. Bossing is most effective with at least 2 people, or more, and yet, the game doesn't have a formal system to group people up with others looking to go bossing. Bosses are admittedly rather dull, and the vast majority of the time everything you loot will be very unexciting, littered with random filler stats, and feel as if it wasn't worth the time or ammo. Game Rot 2. Bossing is boring and plagued by too many useless random filler stats on items. Game Rot 3. Too much specialization incentivized in an already content-starved game reduces opportunity for fun and varied gameplay, and incentivizes additional alt character grind. Looting and bossing are not fun enough on their own to build a game around. This is a problem that could largely be fixed by the removal of the plus damage to infected and plus damage to bosses modifiers. In my opinion, even though it is very difficult to make these changes, they could improve the game in such a fundamental way that I feel is so necessary that it would be worth the cost, and I do know the costs are high. Many players will be upset at the loss of their previously farmed items, but they will have a better game to play, and their newly farmed items will be better. If things get too bad, the developer could provide high-level characters with some loot box items to roll out some new equipment from the new system to start with. The next way you can play is to do missions. But nobody does that. The missions themselves are randomized fetch quests, with no variance, that consist of looting a building until you find the MacGuffin, or killing X zombies, and there's no social queuing system to bring mission runners together. The reason why players don't actually play the missions organically is because, well, the missions aren't very interesting, they aren't designed to put you alongside other players to solve them, they don't reward enough to be worth the genuine effort of scouring a building, and the location for the quest item or person is always the same for each player, which incentivizes people to create lists like this that reduce what little engagement missions provided into a boring checklist.
I know you're lost in there, but I'm not giving up on you.
There isn't a particular build for missions, though they favor looter-type builds since they never involve killing a boss. Plus, to run missions most efficiently you should try to stack a bunch of experience plus buffs in general, and particularly just before you turn in the missions, and that's annoying and depressing. Game rot 4. Mission system unsocial and broken. On top of this, experience gain plus buffs incentivize you to sacrifice on actually interesting character builds, to make the boring grind go away, and without it, the game is much more slow and boring. As well, it always feels bad to train when the game isn't having one of its regular plus 100% EXP gain events. Game rot 5. Experience gain plus buff, from events, outpost attacks, skills, equipment, event items, is a poor substitute for designing an actually engaging game, which doesn't feel so grindy that you feel incentivized to build your character around skipping it, or avoiding training until the next event. You feel bad when you sacrifice fun organic character building for maximizing experience gain through buffs, and you feel bad when you don't. Can we please just get rid of it and make the current in-game activities feel meaningful and rewarding in themselves? There is a fourth thing now, which are events. Sometimes a bunch of bosses will need to be killed in an area, or a bunch of zombies. If you're a looter character, sometimes you're happy for the zombie event. Sometimes you log into your bosser character for the boss event. As simple as this sounds, it was a good update. Finally there is something to mix up the monotony of the rest of the gameplay, even if these events totally kill your frame rate. I have no complaints, besides that I feel you should be able to queue into these events and teleport with a group of players to them. Anything to bolster this game's low server population and bring people together. Oh yeah, and there's PvP, but nobody plays that. People would play it if it were structured and coherent, but it's not. The way I see it, nobody will ever feel like they should play PvP in this game until these problems are fixed. Remove the plus damage to humans stat. Fixed third-person camera abuse. Fix broken stun mechanics. Create incentive to PvP through rewards, and make PvP areas give better loot. Allow killing players to steal the loot they found there. Rot number 6. PvP unstructured and deeply unfair. Dead Frontier 2 is at its best when you're playing with a friend, or other people, and with such a low player base, gameplay that alienates most new players, and a lack of a queuing system for social gameplay, you'll find yourself depressingly playing alone a lot. Rot number 7. Lack of structured ability to queue up to be placed with other players to have fun doing something together, providing at least the illusion of a living breathing world which is desperately needed. I think that the activity of looting should be equal on any character. When it comes to current zombies, I can largely turn off my brain in every room, so I think that there needs to be more varied and interesting enemies, some that crawl on the wall, and ceiling, and leap around, maybe some dogs that run around randomly before they charge for a strike, stuff like that. As this activity becomes harder, and begins to require more concentration from the player, as it should, the loot should be better. If a player starts to zone out at any point, I feel that the game design has failed. If the player starts to feel that the loot they're getting doesn't match up to the difficulty of the rooms they are in, the game design has failed. These are regular occurrences when I play. The new player experience. The first 11 levels are going to be crucial for player retention. Here are the problems I see with the average new player experience. Character creation is dark and your character is hard to see. Limited options. The tutorial is limited to some green text lines that appear and disappear at the top of the screen, which players are likely to miss due to the fact that they've just started the game. Ugly word-based UI, when aesthetics are a large part of the appeal of item lootathon games. New players will use up their pistol ammo quickly and be forced to use the lackluster melee system, which will hamper their early experience. It's easy for a new player to not understand key game systems at this point, and there's no database of information or adequate tutorial to fix that. I've seen various new players not know that there were multiple outpost locations, what the stash is, or how to sell stuff. Missions are not worthwhile or interesting at all right now, so events will be the main way new players could earn money, but these will likely not be discovered until the player has grown bored of navigating an endless series of building rooms. Your average normie who tries this game is only going to be cool with the grind required to get one character to level 30, if that. Realizing that they'll have to do this 2 or more times to get bossing and PvP characters is deeply discouraging. People have jobs and lives, and while I believe there should be things to do for players who absolutely want to know life the game like me, this isn't good for player retention. Basically, allow the whole of the game to be enjoyed more or less equally on one character. Overall, I want to like this game without reservations, and I just want my friends who I invite to play to enjoy themselves, and want to stay. Is this all there is to life? Consume product, assemble opinion, broadcast opinion on internet. No, there was something before all this. Maybe I should try to remember.
Valium. Can you hear me? You've got to pull it together. If you stay like this, those you love are going to die.
Love? Who is there to love in this wretched life of mine? Everyone has left me. I cannot rely on anyone. I must accept that my life is suffering, that can only be endured. Besides, I've grown comfortable in this feeling. It's easier not to care. It hurts more to try. I'm vaguely cool online. That's all I need. Yep. Just gonna ride this out until the apocalypse.
The people in your life will change. I know it because I know you. If anyone can help them see what is really happening, it is you.
I can't show them my work. They would try to stop me. They might compromise me. And I can't be the one to hold their hand through so many painful realizations. Not while I'm doing this work. I'm so fucking tired. Look at them. These goddamn normies. They have no idea what is really happening in this world. And they would fight me as the enemy for years before they might ever budge. They aren't a threat to anything. They cannot see the danger. They are satisfied with their own lives so long as the terror is mostly exported elsewhere.
That was you, once, don't you remember? How many people sacrificed their well-being for you to hold your hand through the storm, and pull you out of the matrix? It was so terrifying to realize the truth. That is what they are going through right now. They need your kindness, patience, empathy.
This horrid world beat everything good out of me. I'm afraid I don't have any left for them. Not that I was ever good at such things anyways. This image of a loving simple family, it was always an illusion. It was always outside of my reach. Hoping for it only made me miserable. I need to accept this reality to be able to function. I just need someone to take care of me while I recover. But there's no one who can. It hurts so much.
This horrid world beat everything good out of all of us. Valium. Deep down inside you know things can never go back to how they were when we were kids. Nobody can ever take care of us again. We can only take care of each other. You need to tell them. You need to beat them up, you need to make them wear the sunglasses. And when they change, there will be no time for whining about the injustice of the suffering they put you through to change them. They are going to be looking to you to show them what they can do. They will be looking to you for strength and guidance. All of their behaviors, their personality quirks, the particular way they laugh, the ways they try and fail to connect with you, even when they have changed, your flawed brain will associate these things with the older versions of them who filled you with such resentment. For they're ignoring you and casting you as the bad guy every time you spoke. You will have to learn to love and appreciate these things in them, as they are your comrades now.
What kind of life is that? Playing out the predictable fate of an insignificant revolutionary.
God damn it. You're really going to make me say it? None of this existentialist whining will prevent what is coming. You can pretend otherwise all you want. But I know you care about what happens in this world. What you're doing on Breadtube is the latest in a long line of historical co-options of radical movements by liberalism. They want you on here making videos for others to watch, for both you and your audience to be locked in a dopamine loop instead of organizing against the system. Every day their power grows, and revolt becomes less and less likely. With practice, all of this gets easier, I promise you.
But it all ends the same way: confrontation with those in power, and brutalization of the good guys. Oh look, Peter Coffin followed me on Twitter.
Then we'll find out the new formula. We'll figure out how to pierce this newest veil of capitalist ignorance. That's what us leftists have always done. We will create art that cannot be ignored, that sidesteps people's conditioning, that leaves the viewer with no choice other than to confront their place in this world brutally.
Nobody would watch it.
Huh?
Nobody would voluntarily choose to watch something like that.
You've made plenty of stuff that can obscure your intentions before.
I'm really not that subtle. And I'm only allowed to say a watered-down version of the truth, which muddies the understanding of those who come to leftism through work like mine. Besides, Malatesta taught that propaganda without cumulative practice of action is ineffective. It's easy to agree with me, and then go back to sleep.
Look outside. Why do you think they fight?
Material forces.
Really? You think each of them is just playing out a script?
More or less, yeah.
I know you. Your work is the one thing you respect about yourself. You know it can reach people. Eventually the turning of the wheels of history will touch everybody's lives. And when that time comes, if they have seen your work, and the work of others like you, they cannot make themselves forget. You know they will make the right choice.
I guess you're right. I do think we can figure out how to design our work to pierce the veil, as you say, and I do think we can utilize existing mutual aid and union networks to spread this work to those organizing on the ground. There are no guarantees in this world, but that has never mattered. We fight despite the horrors of our past, because this suffering is ours together, because nobody can forget the lessons of their life, because freedom was our birthright, because we were born into bondage in this world. Wow. What the fuck was that about? Maybe you can find out here on my channel. I'm not wearing any panties under here.